Welcome, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning if it is morning. It's April 5th. April 5th. It's August 5th, and year 2020, and we are here on Facebook Live. Um, let's get started. We have on our panel our author, Louise is with us, our Qigong teacher, Kelly is with us, and we have a new guest, April is with us, who is you're a psychic and a healer, right? April, you have to give a little bit of a background. And of course, Eileen, a wonderful moderator, and she's going to contribute today as well as time goes through. April, did you want to talk about yourself, please? And give a little bit of introduction? Thank you. And I'll get started after that.
Is she muted?
Yeah, I think April is on mute.
Oh,
There we go.
sorry.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
I am a professional mental health and substance abuse counselor. I am a certified hypnotherapist, certified massage therapist, certified auricular acupuncturist. I am a Reiki master. I'm muscle trained in Amadeus healing, and I am a psychic medium. I'm a mom of 6 girls from 32 years old to 12 and a grandma of 12.
Wow, that is quite a resume. Thank you so much, April, for introducing yourself.
Thank you.
Today I would actually start off with something that came up in the group meditation. I'm thinking Eileen and Louise were there. April was there.
Yes.
So in the group meditation, what we came across, we were trying to help Maria because she was saying that she is about to go live with a friend of hers, like the family, and we were giving all kinds of input. One of the things that I noticed is one feedback that I gave her was that when we say, oh, this person is going to talk and talk and talk, right? And I'm not going to be able to be in the present moment, then that is resistance. That is the resistance of the mind, right? And what I saw in her is when I said that is a resistance of the mind, she could not see that behavior as resistance of the mind, right? So I want y'all to speak to, and after the panel is done, I'll give my input. What is resistance of the mind, and how do y'all see? Do y'all see in your own personal life, were there instances where after the fact you realized, hey, this was my resistance, and I finally came to surrender about it, and now it's working, right? So, Louise, you ladies first. You go, and then we'll move the circle. Thank you.
Thank you. I think what popped into my head is just recently, with this whole thing with the school situation, is I had so much resistance. Like at first I was, we had to go in and sign them up for either, there was 3 options at one point. It was like a blended option, in-person option, and online only. And so I went in and I just put in person. And it was because that's what I really wanted. Like I really wanted my kids to go to school. I really wanted things to be okay. So it was more of what I wanted than what was best for our family. And so each time, and so then they switched the options to just online and in person. And so then I'm like, I guess I'm gonna have to do online. And then the kids were like, I don't want to do online. It was awful last semester. It was so hard. And I was resisting this whole time because I didn't want to give up my time. Like that's my time when the kids go to school. I'm like, ooh, I get to work on my book stuff, I get to meditate, I get to spend a lot of time on me. And so that there was that resistance that I didn't want to have to take on this responsibility. And I just kept going and meditating and meditating, and it just all of a sudden it just released. And I was like, well, like, what a perfect opportunity for me to be spending with the kids. Like, I've been wanting to, work on, all three of them have trauma. And I've been working with their counselor. And what's happened is they've missed a big portion of, like some very, very important years. And so we've been working on rebuilding that trust and that security by like playing games and doing all this stuff. And it's always so short that time, and it's like so hard to continue it during the week when there's school and we're rushing and all this stuff. And it just like hit me like a ton of bricks, like, wow, this is an opportunity. And the minute I let go of that resistance, I just felt lighter, happier, excited. And the kids' attitude changed too. They were like, okay, we're gonna be at home, because at first Olivia was crying and she's like, I'm gonna miss my friends. This is horrible. But when I let go of that resistance, not even verbalizing it around them or anything, it's just they felt that, I guess. Then they got excited about it. And the other thing I'd like to mention is sometimes when somebody tells us something like you had mentioned about, that's a form of resistance, sometimes we're just not in that space to see it, or we're not conscious enough to get what that other person's saying. And that's kind of how I felt, is that she just wasn't, there was something that was preventing from seeing it.
Perfect.
I do think also that we all, in any situation, if it's important enough for us to ground ourselves and to do this work, we'll find a way, like, I have these three little ones, I have a lot of stuff going on, but like throughout the day, I will just make sure that I'm taking these conscious breaths and I'm bringing myself back to being present. And so, and you're not always around like the most, like my husband will have the TV blaring and it's like, I can't take it, so, but I remove myself from it and then I'm fine about, So those are some thoughts that came to me.
You're incredible, Louise. To actually take care of your grandchildren, right? So that's a incredible depth of selfless sacrifice, but it is well worth it. And you'll enjoy this year. I've been with my son a couple of times for a year span, and it has been an amazing experience. So I never feel it's lost time or anything of that sort. So thank you for that
Thank you.
resistance. You released some of it during the last group meditation too, right? You said there was a lot of release. So
Yes.
Eileen's passion for the group meditation is working on everyone. The magic is working on everyone. Kelly, you want to say something?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Resistance in the mind is generally caused by the places where we do not want to look. That actually has, and from my experience, learning my own resistance in my mind over the years, it's always places where we do not want to look, especially places in our awareness where we are holding emotional energy or feelings that we do not want to accept are there, even though on some level we know they're there. And For me, it's a very palpable physical thing. Like there's a heaviness when something comes to the surface, when I'm actually resisting looking at something that's come to the surface emotionally or feeling wise, awareness wise. One of the biggest educational experiences in my life was getting divorced and putting my foot down and being scared of having the conversation for 3 whole months, even though it was, there's no way to describe the way my inner voice, my higher self, or my heart was screaming at me for 3 months, and feeling the pressure from my heart to say something, to do something, to change things, and how intense that was, resisting that and feeling that resistance. And those 3 months were a huge threshold for me in terms of my inability to escape hearing my heart, my inability to escape listening to my heart, and the pressure of the resistance of my emotional defense mechanisms, of my programming to just not want to rock the boat, to not want to change anything, to stay in that little box, to hold on for dear life. Yeah, it was just, all the things that I would do to distract myself, to not be present those 3 months. Even though it was, I literally felt like I had a split personality, because on one side, I was absolutely right there with the feelings that I was not facing. And I literally had this tug of war with this other side of myself in my awareness of the fear. And what happens if we do this? And my experience has shown that the resistance is always, in my experience, has been always about the unknown. Always not wanting to face the unknown, the uncertainty. And that those 3 months were a huge education in terms of how dedicated my monkey mind, my emotional defense mechanisms, my reptilian survival mechanisms were to keep the peace and to not change anything, to not allow anything to change. So to maintain that control. And yeah, in hindsight, is one of the biggest gifts I've ever received. All that tension blowing up in my face when I finally made the decision to have the conversation with my ex-wife and to move through and into getting a divorce and separating and having the conversation. And for me, the experience, again, very, very physical. It's, it's the way that I am. Of feeling the relief from my body, I cried for a couple of days, and the resistance once I actually had my house to myself, and there was no resist. I no longer needed to hold my space, hold myself, or buffer my space against my ex-wife, and I had the house to myself. I basically threw up for 2.5 months, day in, day out. Not like all day long, but I'd get up in the morning, I'd throw up, go to work, come home, and throw up. So I'd let go of the resistance and everything that had been stored, all the tension, all the dense toxic energy, if you will, the dense vibration of holding that space of control and fear, literally purged out of my system for 2.5 months.
This
So
is before or after?
After my ex-wife had moved out of the house. Yeah. So when I suddenly had all the space, it literally felt like all the resistance that I'd had to accepting that new space, I literally felt like I'd fallen flat on my face. Perfect. And suddenly I was just in this space of processing and throwing up and purging my system of all that resistance that I'd held on to for such a long time.
So great pointer there, Kelly, that you're talking about. You could feel it in your body, right?
Yep.
So inhabit your body. take some of the Qigong lessons that Kelly advertises, because that is the greatest way to inhabit your body, and your body will tell you where is the resistance, right?
Yep.
And listen to your body. The
Yep.
body is the best mechanism. We did chapter 1 of The Power of Now, and in chapter 1 of The Power of Now, even Eckhart says the body will tell you the truth, right? The emotion, the thought will be the lie. The body will tell you the truth. So thank you. Thank you for that. April, did something come up for you that you wanted to talk about resistance? And there's some questions too, so we can go to the questions. I'll speak about resistance towards the end. Go ahead, April. You may have to take yourself off mute. So
Take myself.
yeah, great. Thank you.
When it comes to resistance of the mind, for me, that normally relates to the pain body and fears, and that then begins the story of all of these, I don't know if we want to say irrational or not true beliefs that we hold. You know, if I'm going to be in a place where this person's talking to me all the time and they're going to be pulling my attention all the time, then I'm not going to be able to handle it. This is a core belief. This is a story. And then the mind starts racing. And in my life, whenever I'm resisting something, it's normally related to family, to my children. And it's because I have found that I have these expectations that I have placed on myself and on my children that are definitely not in flow. They are not in flow. They are not. And flow to me is acceptance. It's acceptance of what is. And also a knowing, an inner knowing that you're going to be okay, that you will make it through this. And if you just maintain your presence, maintain that inner sense, that you will be able to face whatever comes. We detach with the emotions.
Perfect. Learn to detach or disidentify from the thought that is being created, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's look at the question. Lakshmi asks, so I've heard from some teachers that if we meditate, our lifespan increases as the length of the telomeres increase. I thought we have a sacred contract with set number of breaths. Can we change the length of our life? Anybody want to start? Kelly, you start, since we went in that order, right? I'll go in the other order. Thank you.
Okay, good. We're good. Good. All right. Short answer is yes. I mean, plain and simple, spirit is not limited by linear concepts of time or contracts. If you do the discipline and you go inside and you release your karma, you can change your life. That's basic physics, you know. For every action, there's a reaction. For actually being in your body, being present, and aligned with your heart, you change everything. And that's why meditation is so important. This is why I love teaching what I teach. In Chinese, in Qigong, we call this changing your original qi, or your jing, and refining the energy of your body to the point where you can consciously shift through energy with your breath, be present through everything that you're feeling in your body. The art of Bagua, that is a sister art of Tai Chi that I specialized in for the last 20 years, is something that is specifically supposed to do this. And yes, telomeres are absolutely fascinating. Changing the alignment of our thoughts, the alignment of our awareness, being present in our body, changing our thoughts, changing our thought patterns, our internal dialogue, changes the chemistry in our body. And this is how you change the mitochondrial RNA and the DNA, and you get into shifting the chemistry of the body at such a cellular level that you change your chemical composition and the telomeres. So you lengthen the ends of the telomeres on I think it's on the mitochondria in the cells. So the information, right? So the energy of the mitochondria gets used up. If my memory of the process with the telomeres, if I'm remembering correctly. But the simple answer, you can go into all that detail. The simple answer is yes. The sacred contract is actually with yourself. And my understanding, and the choice to embody your presence, to be present, to embody your soul, your heart alignment, however you want to describe it, is what changes your contract with yourself. And this is why meditation is so important. This is why I love sharing the Qigong and teaching the classes that I do, because they're toolboxes. They're toolboxes that people can use to give themselves an understanding of how to have that space for themselves.
Thank you for that input, Kelly. I didn't have any input on it, so thank you. It's information for me. April, did you have any comments on it? Thank you.
I'm not as experienced as Kelly is in that area, but I am aware of everything that he said, and I believe that now Eckhart doesn't like the word mindful, but being aware of your thoughts and which thoughts you're allowing into your body certainly affects you all the way down to the DNA. And if we are full of negative thinking and negative emotion, we manifest illness. And if you can go into meditation and other modalities, then you will certainly extend, and not just extend your lifetime here, but extend the quality of your life. I have a personal experience with my mother who she could not get over a certain death in our family, and it manifested into a major illness. So that is my experience, that when you do meditation and all these other modalities where you release the negative, then you most certainly can extend your life.
Perfect. Thank you, April. Louise?
No, I really don't have much to say on that. I find that once I started to do this type of work, I stopped a lot of the questioning and wondering, and I just feel like it's not really something I'm interested in.
Like, how long do
So
you
I
want your life, or not
right.
want you?
Whatever happens, happens, I guess. That's how I feel.
Perfect. Thank you. The way I feel is somehow even Eckhart says he knows he's going to die sometime soon, right? So it seems like the end date is written. I don't think you can go beyond your end date, but what you can do is, because of the meditation, the quality of how you're going to live each moment, the fullness of consciousness coming through is going to be a lot more. We will affect the world or affect the cosmos vibrationally. The effect is deeper. Like, we bring in more peacefulness, more love, more of the unconditional love, the more of the loving kindness and compassion into the cosmos. So the whole reason why we meditate, yeah, we may there may be some biological changes, but I think the end date is written, because like then Eckhart would say, oh, I'm going to live forever. I'll live until I'm 100 or something. At 72, 73, he already talks about passing away, right? In, I think, School of Awakening, somebody asked him the question that, hey, we want to be awakened just like you. And he said, the best thing a teacher could do is pass away, right? And I think that's the insight I had, that Jesus passed away because taking away the teacher was the best thing the teacher could do, so that the student could go know that the consciousness is within themselves. The kingdom of heaven is within us, right? Eileen, anything coming up for you on
Yes.
this? Thank you.
I just wanted to say that there is actually scientific research on this, that our beliefs do in fact change our biology. And so not Eckhart, but there is other teachers that I follow, and I've read research about this. And it is actually possible for those telomeres to extend. And it is possible to extend your life and heal yourself with your beliefs. I've done it myself. I haven't done research on telomeres, of course, but I have done the healing. And so it is possible. I just think that when Lakshmi asked about having like a written time, like end time, I think that it's set, but my understanding is that the universe will have happen what should happen, and it knows. So in that case, it's, bringing about the change that needs to happen for you to experience whatever that end date is. So if you figure out this information and you use it and you heal, then you were meant to be here longer. That's kind of how I see it.
So it's about the quality of how we were living. That because of our smoking and our drinking and whatever addictions we had, if we stopped all that, ate healthy foods, and then did the meditation, then maybe the quality, instead of passing away at 40, we would pass away at 60. That's
Mhm.
and that's the same thing that I was saying. The end date would be like if you were passing away at 80 and you did something um, like get into a car and start speeding, right? Who's to say that you won't meet with an accident at 30, right? So
Exactly.
it's like not something that we would know unless we were in that person, right? So no more questions. I think we
Not
are
at the moment.
talking about the telomeres. So as far as resistance is concerned, what I feel, just like Kelly was saying, it's something like resistance is anything that vibrationally is a change from the alignment within our beingness. So consciousness is flowing, right? Any amount of drop in that vibrational energy, and I say this, right, like this is inner being, and you're aligned with your inner being. Any slight drop, and we're not even going to know the resistance that like in India there's this in India, there's this discrimination of Hindu and Muslim, right? Like you will be born, if you're in a Hindu family, you will be born with the conditioned pattern that you're not going to like a person of Muslim origin, right? So the resistance will not even be words. It's not going to be anything. A person of Muslim origin comes, stands next to you, right? Here it's about African Americans and people who are Caucasian, right? An African American person comes, stands beside you, right? How are you going to feel? Is your energy going to shift? Right? Are you going to accept them just like you would accept your brother or sister in your family? Or let's say you were not exposed to very many South American families, Latino families, then how's your energy going to shift? If you had a Latino person standing right next to you, right? How is your energy going to shift? Because it's the otherness of the other started, right? We've talked so much about the otherness of the other. So we begin to, like, something will shift within us. We won't feel comfortable. Like I used to work for this company, Brinks, the armored truck company, and they're always in very bad neighborhoods. The branch offices are in really bad neighborhoods. So how does our energy shift when we go through those neighborhoods? That is all resistance. And these are not words that say, oh, this is resistance, but that is resistance, because in that shift of, and we have to have that level of awareness, that level of alignment with inner beingness, that I was in an exuberant state, like at the top of the hour, right before we joined, we were in exuberant state and we saw this one person, right? And did it drop? Right? So, like for Louise, since you have like the encounter with a person with addiction, right? What if another person with addiction comes up, shows up in front of you? Your body is going, the inner vibrational energy will shift, right? It won't be the loving kindness that you feel towards your grandchildren, right? There will be a little bit of resistance. Then finally, the awareness may arise and say, oh, you know, the awareness may come and say, I have this resistance, and drop the resistance. But what I'm saying is resistance is something that arises. And this is what Eckhart is talking about when he talks about the meaning of surrender in chapter 10 of The Power of Now. He's talking about this type of resistance. Can you have loving kindness, unconditional love for this whole cosmos? Right? No matter whether that person is addicted, short, black, brown, whatever, a woman, child, uh, a gay person, lesbian person, whatever it may be, can you have that level of unconditional love? That is what alignment with inner beingness is no matter who, you are loving kindness towards them, no matter what situation. So it's people, places, situations, right? Then I actually wanted to have this conversation with Travis because, I mean, did anything come up for any of you on this? The change in, it's about change in vibrational energy. He's not actually talking about, oh, it is actually resistance. Like he says, car horn blares, right? You know how our energy is. Can somebody just shut that off, right? Or the lawnmower goes off, like the landscape guy has a very loud thing that's cutting the grass, and then the resistance, or somebody takes a chainsaw and is trimming their tree, or you know, you're getting your roof replaced, and all day long you hear the tuck 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 of nails all day. It's nails. Can you actually make that part of your meditation, or can you make that constant noise part of your inner beingness and say, even that is consciousness? That noise being produced is also the one consciousness that is in me and is in the rest of the cosmos, is where we need to be. So the other thing, I wanted to have a conversation with Travis on this, but he's not here. I was hoping he would be here. The thing he brought up was he has a conditioned pattern of shortage consciousness, and this question was asked of Eckhart, and I'll give some examples of what Eckhart said on the website as well, is the having issues with money. Like we have, a lot of us have this conditioned pattern of, I'm not good with money, I'm going to lose money, I'm never going to make any money, right? The limiting belief around money, right? So April, I'll let you go first because Louise and Kelly have had their turn, and then we'll go around. Okay. So shortage consciousness and limiting beliefs around money, that I'm never going to make money. So what is your antidote to that? What comes up for you regarding that? Thank you.
Well, money for me has always been an issue in my life, shortage of money. And I believe that money is linked a lot to your self-worth, your value of yourself and your self-worth. So what I tried to do is, because I want to be on the same level of consciousness as the one, I decide first how I want to be. How do I want to be in life? Do I want to be peaceful? Do I want to be loving, unconditional love? And then that determines my behaviors and how I deal with things and how I handle things. And then that also includes money, to be a little more open and loving and feeling like I am worthy, and that everything is abundance, not just the dollars. I think feeling abundance is important. The money thing for me, I don't, it almost, I think there's so much resistance with it, with so many people. Do you feel that? Yeah. And I think it again is another thing that's becoming in line with it, becoming aligned with that as much as it's becoming in line with yourself and with oneness. Letting go of all the limiting beliefs about it. I can't ever get money. It's never coming to me. It's so hard. These again are stories that we tell ourselves. So that's what I do, and that's what I work with on it, is accepting that we all are one, we all deserve it, and to just be more in flow with it. Money is actually an energy. It comes and it goes. So that's kind of where I'm at with the whole money thing. Maybe I need to be talked to more.
Perfect. We're going to talk about it a little bit more, but looking for abundance is one of his tips as well. Like look at the sky, look at the trees, right? There's abundance everywhere. And one of the things he says on the A New Earth webcast is look at the grocery store produce, right? There's always such overflowing produce. So thank you for that, April. That's a good tip. Louise, you want to talk about shortage consciousness, or this thing that people have about, I'm a loser, I'm never going to make enough money, I'm never going to be a person. Thank you.
Yes, again, my relationship with money has changed, the deeper I go. But I do remember it being a big issue in my life. But it seems like a lot of stuff has like calmed down and kind of like, I feel like a lot of times when I get to that point where I start to freak out about money or freak out about something, it's just always the same answer, really, is bringing myself back to, having that space, and having that space calms everything down. And changes the perspective as well. So, you know, if I start to feel like, oh, you know, I'm stressed about money, just say like abundance flows to me, abundance flows to me. And my mind, you know, will eventually change its way of thinking.
Perfect. So an affirmation works.
Yes.
Abundance always works, flows into
Flows.
me. So
Yes.
perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
Kelly?
Abundance, I've always had an interesting conversation with that sort of space of give and take. I know I come from a family where there is a great deal of poverty consciousness from my grandparents down through the line, and understanding that my dad's side of the family, the Russian Mennonite refugee consciousness, was present early on in my life in terms of like hoarding, not hoarding, but always being really, really, really super careful with money. And then there's also my mom's side of the family whose grandparents survived, the Great Depression back in the 30s, and we're also very careful in their way with money as well. And I know part of my process of reflecting on abundance and my poverty consciousness programming is also understanding the process of timing of letting go of my resistances to abundance and accepting my own growth as a person and understanding how to support myself and grow past my consciousness of shortage or lack, believing that there is a lack in the world. And also it's a self-worth issue where, being so different from everybody else in my family, there was some dialogue going on for a real long time about, why am I so different? Do I deserve to be different? Is this okay to be different? So seeing how that, reflected in all the layers and how everything's connected has been a lengthy process. But yeah, as far as I understand, it's a self-worth issue. And the greatest thing that we can do is we can act upon seeing it as such and seeing it as a matter of the universe is actually there and will always support us and will always give us what we actually need to grow. And I know because of the programming in my family, if I had had a stable job and been able to make regular income my entire life, I would still be very materialistic. I would still be locked in that limited, ego-driven materialism. And for me, it's actually been a very huge gift of understanding my self-worth issues, my self-esteem issues, my belief in lack, and understanding of how the universe actually, like, feeling that resistance to, no, like there's, I should be able to do this, I should be able to do that. And instead of pushing and manufacturing a false reality, learning how to step back and accept the lesson that I'm actually being shown, and understanding that there's a choice to see the program, to see the monkey mind's defense mechanism of trying to keep me in a place where I believe that I don't believe, deserve things, versus accepting that, yeah, I do deserve things. I am worthy of love for myself. I can love myself. I can accept that there is a space for me of love in the universe, because that's really who I am in my heart. And aligning with that feeling in my heart has been a lot of work, and accepting that I can actually change things and do things for myself that will support me and build a space, not just outside in the world, but that is actually a reflection of my confidence in myself that I have now, of building from my heart and understanding that I actually have this capacity and that this is really who I am.
So knowing that because of a self-esteem, they could be shortage poverty consciousness, and recognizing it and dropping the belief that
Yes.
it would help. Eileen, anything come up for you, Eileen, on money, surrounding money? Thank you.
Yes, only something that comes up for me a lot. And in reference to a lot of the different things, but the law of attraction, because and this comes back to resistance too, but I find that with money and with other things as well, when you're worried about it, then you tend to attract more to worry about. And then the situation doesn't improve, it gets worse. And then, of course, the opposite, when, when you feel that sense of gratitude and feeling of abundance, instead of like a scarcity or lack, then it attracts more to be grateful for. So, but I think it applies to anything, not just, I just had a conversation with a neighbor yesterday because we were talking about someone who tends to complain, and they kept complaining, but then complaining about things that others, didn't necessarily think it was something to complain about. And I was trying to explain to her that if she could stop and find the things that she's grateful for in the situation, and express that gratitude, that would come back. If you're complaining because you don't have enough of XYZ, you're just going to draw more things to complain about. And then whereas if you shifted that, then you'd find that what you need or what it is that you want would be attracted, because so it's the same thing, comes up all the time.
That's a good way to let go of that poverty consciousness limiting belief as gratitude. Feel grateful for, even if you're homeless or in a tent, right? Be grateful for the space, the few things that you have. If you got a meal or if you got some water, then be grateful for the water. So talk about us. We can be grateful for a lot of things, right? We have food, we have a house, we have a job. There are so many things, children, we can be grateful for. So what Eckhart says is because it is a limiting belief, right? So we have to overwrite the conditioned pattern, and this is at the energetic level, right? It's almost like that archetype of what we were talking about in the past few Q&As and group meditation about the self-saboteur. We have an archetype of the self-saboteur, or the archetype of the jealousy archetype, right? The same thing, this shortage consciousness is an archetype. It's energy pattern, right? So how do you overwrite that energy pattern? What Eckhart says, and even this book, The Nature of Personal Reality, says, even if you didn't have enough money, right? So you are going to buy celery, a bunch of celery for $1. Just go buy organic celery for $1.50 or $2, right? So it's just 50 cents. You've spent just 50 cents more. But what you're telling the universe by buying something that is going to nourish your body, one, abundance consciousness, right? I'm going to eat the celery, and because it's organic, it's going to nourish my body. And Louise, in Colorado, it is very popular to do organic things, not in Texas. It's picking up, but it's not very popular in Texas, okay? So that's why I'm stating it over again. And then he says something like, you may end up buying. So one of the things that I see is oh, I'm going to go to Dollar Tree and spend a dollar of very cheap stuff, right? So he says, instead of buying very cheap stuff, buy something that is a little bit expensive, like buy a pair of shoes that may be 3 times the money, but that will show abundance consciousness, that you would, instead of spending $15 on a pair of shoes, buy a $45, $80 pair of shoe, right? One, it's going to be quality shoe. It's going to last you longer than whatever this other shoe is going to last, right? So that is another way of overriding that I do believe in abundance, because the one thing I want for each and every Facebook member to invite in their life is this abundance. That is why I started the group 5 years ago. It's like learn Eckhart's teachings, because he teaches how to reprogram ourselves, right? The reprogramming of your limiting beliefs. So the other thing I noticed is, so the way I look at money is, one of the things I do is, if anybody's interested in sacred acoustics, I say I'll send you a $50 gift certificate. Don't worry about it. I'll send you a $50 gift certificate. So this other person said, no, I don't want you to give me $50. I said, no, I don't look at it that way. What I look at is, when I'm paying $50 to you, right? I'm actually paying Sacred Acoustics that's given me millions of dollars worth of peace, right? So it may seem that I'm giving it to you, but it's nothing. So a lot of this, me and the other, I'm not going to take anything from the other, is there, right? When you get into this unity consciousness, you look at Poonam as a cooperative component, right, to your manifestation, and go, hey, Poonam is manifesting this for me. She's giving me this meditation, and look what I can do once I become centered about it. The same thing with your things. Give away your things. Like Maria was moving, right? So give away your things. Give, and give it with not a sense of, oh, I need to get money out of it, right? I need to get a $50. If I'm selling a desk, I need to get the highest amount of, maximal amount of this. No, give it away to another person, because in that you're saying, I believe in this cosmos to be one family, and here is, I have enjoyed this desk, now you enjoy it, my family, right? You're not seeing anything as being the other, right? So that is unity consciousness. So that is a very overriding your pattern, because all this time, your poverty consciousness taught you, even a rusted nail, I'm going to save it. I don't know when I'm going to use it. 30 years from now, I'm going to use that rusted nail, but I'm going to save it in my garage, right? No, give it away. You can go buy. And the other thing, on Monday, I went to Bath and Body Works to get some lotion and some soap. And the person, I can order it online, but I took the time to wear a mask, get into my car, make the effort to go to a brick and mortar. So, especially during this pandemic, please make the effort to go to your small brick and mortar stores and make purchases, because out of your purchase, you are actually they're going to pay the salaries of whoever is manning that store, right? So so it so happened, when I was walking out, the person helping me was walking out, and I was telling her that I was about to order all this online, and I ended up coming to the store and picking it up, and it was easy because Monday there weren't very many people. And she said, yeah, people are ordering online, and what about my paycheck? I said, no, I paid for your paycheck because I bought a bunch of stuff at the store. So think in that manner. That is how you override, right? Think that it's currency that's flowing. If you're sending that currency out, it's going to come. Send it with blessings. Even if you're buying a small cup of coffee, $5 cup of coffee. If you're buying a $5, go buy a milkshake, buy Sonic. Even if you buy $5 Sonic, give them a $5 tip. These days, those guys are not being paid enough. That one $5 once a month is going to reward you. So I wanted to talk to Travis about this, but this is how we overwrite that conditioned pattern that this society has put into us, that every penny, don't even one little potato, don't put it in the trash. It's a waste. Why are you throwing it in the trash, right? Don't think of it that way. You already, that potato fulfilled its purpose the moment you bought it at the store. Somebody's salary got paid out of that because you made that purchase of the potato, right? Whether it goes in your stomach and then goes into the trash, or it goes into the trash directly. It may be better going into the trash directly, I feel, instead of going in my stomach, all this food. So thank you for that. We have some, actually some suggestions. Sujata says, I start feeling a tightness when resistance arises, then pay attention to thoughts around it. And it then usually shows me where the story was work in progress. So April was talking about turning it into a story. So Sujata says the same, that it's a work in progress. Yeah, Kelly talked about feel it in your body, feel the tightness in your body, right? So it works. When we pass on and being aware of past forms and lessons, short answer, yes. So Mike asked, when we pass on and being aware of past forms and lessons. Do we have any, Kelly, you want to go first and then we'll pick up. I want water, that's why. I want a break. Thank you.
So I found Mike's question very interesting. One of my personal experiences in this regard was when I was a kid and had really bad asthma and used to almost die on a regular basis and wind up in the hospital. And I would have I would have these experiences where I would spend my time when I was unconscious sitting with this nice lady and having conversations about what was going on and why. And, you know, I'm a little kid, right? So there was this dichotomy of feeling like I was a little kid, but having all this other understanding. And I have no idea which experience specifically it was, but I do remember at some point asking this lady that I kept on meeting what all these other voices were that I kept on hearing sort of in the background. And the reply that I got was that those are your past experiences and they're trying to tell you what you are learning this time. And it was usually when the moment when I'd sort of like turn around and go, oh, that's cool. I would like wake up in the hospital bed and go, wait, I was just about to like get the map or the memo or the whatever. So yeah, you know, again, really unique experience as a kid. You know, and it used to happen to me on a regular basis. And from that moment, those first few experiences, I ended up having conversations with this feminine archetype being in dream time after a certain number, a couple of years of sort of winding up in the hospital. And just sort of had, like, ever since then, I've kind of had this constant background. It's like where you have a tab open in the browser. You know, it's so weird having these images and this information and these pictures from when you're a kid. And now it's like right now I'm actually having a remembrance of one of these moments of like, why are all these heads in these boxes all together, squished together in this little screen? And it's just like, you know, now it's like as an adult, like I have the perspective and I can understand the information that I was getting. The first time I ever had a Zoom meeting where there were all these people in these boxes, I had such a hard time keeping a straight face and not giggling like a little boy, because I was like, oh my God, that's like, I finally get it. That dream from like all those dreams I used to have when I was like 6 and 7 and 8. It's just like, I finally get it. It's like, ah, right, okay. so back to the punchline. Ever since having those out of body experiences or those conversations with the woman in the waiting room, as I called it, still call it, I've had like this background and ability to sort of like look backwards into myself and feel like a string of bubbles all connected, sort of like that run backwards through embodiments, I guess, if you will. And when I was younger and a kid and didn't have some of my adult filters locked down on my awareness, I would be able to go into a lot of the information, a lot of the lessons, and sort of sit with stuff. And sometimes I'd have arguments with myself. It's like, because I would hit something that caused a lot of grief or a lot of anger, or it's just like, oh, or I'd recognize some of the people in my current life from those past lives. And I go, oh, I'm still going through that. You know, it's like, what the heck? So yeah, short answer is yes. And my personal experience is big yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that personal experience, kind of relating to the question that was asked. Luis, you have something? I know April will, because she's a psychic medium. So
No, I don't. Nothing's really coming to me right now.
for about past lifetimes, if you carry our lessons, right, Kelly, from our past lifetimes. So thank you. Thank you, Louise.
Mhm.
April?
Okay, so a little personal note here. My mom died 5 years ago, and she was quite young. She was 56, and she died because she literally, one, I believe that your day is your day, period. Bottom line, your day is your day, and God knows that day. Now, you can improve the quality of your life, you can improve your health, but you basically have your day. And but she did manifest severe COPD because she couldn't get over the death of my brother. And when that happened, what I did was I started researching NDEs, like thousands and thousands of NDEs, near-death experiences, because I wanted to know what it was like on the other side. And when I did that, I found out that we do have a life review, but it is not in the way that we think it is. We are not judged based off of what we did here. Now, we judge ourselves and say, oh, did I learn that lesson? Oh, how well did I do with that? But God doesn't judge us. Jesus doesn't judge us. That's not what happens. But if we did have a plan, and I also get this from being a psychic medium, if we did have a plan that we did not necessarily achieve, we will then carry that lesson forward into another lifetime. If we have a person in our life that perhaps the relationship was really bad, and we need to kind of clear that up a little bit by learning more unconditional love, we will then again greet that person in another lifetime. And so, but I don't want the questionee to think that it's about judgment or punishment, because it is not. We choose which lessons we would like to learn, what we would like to grow on, and then we have the option of obviously, like Eckhart, continuing that till, and you and I have, or you have brought up that, we think that he's reached his, top here. So yes, you do bring forth lessons, but you are able to choose those lessons, which ones you would like to try to accomplish in this lifetime. And there is no judgment on that.
Thank you, April. Thank you for that
you.
input. Eileen, do you want to give any input on this? No, nothing comes up.
Not on this.
Not on this topic. The only thing I wanted to say is in the book, The Nature of Personal Reality, which is a channel teaching of this non-physical entity called Seth. Seth says there are 7 moment points. So we are actually living 7 life. At this point, we are actually in 7 different lifetimes simultaneously. So any change we make, and going back to the telomeres and what happens when we have that depth of expanded state of awareness and in meditation, we can better not only this life, but our future and past life. So a past life has to change depending on how we are changing in this lifetime. So that is the benefit of presence practice. That is the benefit that we gain from, like Eckhart would have healed all of his past lives and his future life, where to the extent that he may not take another birth, or that non-physical entity that we label as Eckhart, he may no longer take birth anymore. That's what he says is what would be ideal for him. He has no desire. And I think it's the end of desires as well, that no longer do we have any desires as a human. Towards, as we progress deep in our practice, there's not even a desire that I want to take care of my children, or I want a house, I want a car. All those desires go away. And it's not so much as a desire as in material form. It's vibrational, the desire that exists as a memory within our non-physical invisible formlessness. It's a memory in us, the karmic memory that we say, right? The karmic accumulation. So we are raising that. Any more questions, Eileen?
Nope, not yet.
Let me look at the
Lots of
time.
gratitude, though.
Awesome. Anything come up for any of you, Louise, April, and Kelly? Eileen,
No.
any questions? Do y'all want to come back next week, Louise and Kelly?
I'd love to.
You
Yes.
would love to? Okay. April,
Great.
you want to come back next week?
Absolutely.
Okay. Did you enjoy this?
I did enjoy this. Now, honestly, I'm
You're going to find a stable position where you can sit comfortably, right? And not be
Yeah,
uncomfortable. I saw
that's
the movement.
yeah, that's kind of an issue for me, but yeah, I loved it. It was very fun, very interesting, and I think it's a really good experience for me. And plus, I'm learning from each one of you too. So
Exactly, like as we hear the different words of wisdom, and people, like how Sujata gave a tip, right? We learn from each other as well that, hey, maybe I can do this little thing a little bit differently. So we will meet again next week. And at the same time, thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege to have all of you,
Thank you.
Louise, April, Kelly, and Eileen, and everyone out there, Sujata, Mike, and Lakshmi, that have given us this opportunity. Without the question, there is no answer, right? So the questions are equally important, and keep the curiosity up, and we'll meet again next week. Bye. See you all at group meditation on Friday. Kelly, you have to come join
I
us.
know Fridays are usually a bit of long days with my dad, so I'm gonna try and make it. Trust me, I'm gonna keep
No
trying to
worries.
make it, and I'll make it one of these days.
One of these days. Okay. Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Yep.
Have a wonderful evening. Many blessings.
Night.
Much love.
thank you.
Thank you. Bye.